The Ravens getting ready to play the Bengals for the third time, but we've learned they will be shorthanded yet again. And if you have not been paying attention because you have other things going on and you have not given the NFL the proper treatment that you believe it deserves, or maybe you have given it the proper treatment that you think it deserves. But either way, if you've missed it, Baltimore quarterback Lamar Jackson. Down goes Lamar. He's got a bum knee. He missed yet another practice on Wednesday. And if you thought that Lamar Jackson was going to play this weekend, you are a loser. Lamar expected to miss his sixth consecutive game. He sprained his knee over a month ago. Not only is he in the injury tent, but the backup, Tyler Huntley, is also down for the count right now. He's dealing with a bum shoulder. He did not practice on Wednesday. But don't bury the lead, my man. It's all about the former MVP, Lamar Jackson, and his situation. So let us discuss the question. It's rather clear here. Is Lamar Jackson intentionally sitting out due to contractual issues with the Ravens? Do you think Lamar Jackson is intentionally not coming back to the field because of his contract, or is this all legitimate? Right? See, the arrow on this one is pointing towards contract. I've got Court Marshall, Bad Burrito, and Johnny Cash. And we will tie all of these random things together and we'll make them make sense. We're going to make them make sense. So, I realize that for some delicate souls, this is a taboo topic you're not supposed to talk about in polite society. You're not supposed to say the quiet part out loud. But from what we are hearing, this just does not pass the smell test. Is it true that the Ravens quarterback is making the franchise pay the piper for not giving him a Deshaun Watson creepy quarterback-like contract? So here's how I would answer that. If this was the military, we have a lot of ex-military, some active duty military, listen to the show. If this was the military, Lamar would be facing a court-martial. All right, now let me give you the evidence that I have procured. The evidence against Lamar that there's some funny business going on. So Lamar was diagnosed with a PCL strain, that's in your knee. It was believed at the time to be a grade 2 strain. The standard timeline for a mere mortal to come back from that kind of injury is 2 to 3 weeks. The timeline for Lamar Jackson was 3 weeks. Now, when you're a professional athlete, you have access to things like around-the-clock medical attention, the best help that money can buy to get your ass back on the field. It's a whole different world. It's a whole different world. And so now Lamar has missed 38 days, and he's not going to play on Sunday, so that'll take him to 42 days, which is 6 weeks. That's double the original timeline for Lamar Jackson. And there's no pot of gold at the end of the rainbow for the Ravens here in terms of Lamar coming back, and they don't win this weekend. That's it. It's over. And you know, and I know that Lamar is not a happy camper, that he's huffing and puffing and grumbling. He didn't get the proper amount of dead presidents offered to him, guaranteed money. And listen, what do I know? I'm just a guy that hosts an overnight radio show, but you do realize that this sounds like the textbook definition of malingering. Minor injury, timeline 3 weeks, upset over the contract, and now you will have missed 6 weeks, right? It's like, I'm not going to rush back and help out the company. I'm upset with the company. Screw the company. I'm anti-work. I don't want to work. Now, I understand the motivation. I get it. And there's logic behind it that if Lamar thinks he can hornswoggle some other NFL team to pay him the money in the offseason, and he can really push the hand of the Raven management, and get what he wants, then for him, this is a win-win. He looks terrible in the eyes of people that value competition and trying to help your teammates out. If you believe in those kind of things, if you're from the old country, then Lamar looks like a douche. But if you're part of the new wave and it's all about the bottom line and you got to be a cutthroat and all that, then Lamar's your hero, right? This guy's playing the system here by dragging out the injury, not coming back, hurting the team, but also forcing the team into action. We'll get back to that in a second. Now, the other part of this is the immediate reality that Baltimore's going into a game against Cincinnati, that high-powered Bengal offense, and they will not be at full strength. So can the Ravens compete with the Bengals without Lamar Jackson? So this is the part of the story where things get uncomfortable. Now, John Harbaugh's team has shown great resolve. They've had some guts over the years in these games, but they can scratch and claw with the best of them. However, there is a massive gap between whether Tyler Huntley plays or the third-string guy plays or whoever it is and Joe Burrow. It's kind of like betting into a shootout situation, say a one-on-one draw, and one person's holding a semi-automatic weapon, the other person's got a musket. The Ravens are the ones with the musket, right? They should be able to compete for a quarter or a half of the game, but over the course of the full Monty, if both teams play as expected, then the Ravens are cooked birds. It's a checkmate situation. Now, that being said, there is actually a path to the Ravens pulling the upset. I'll make the argument on how the Ravens can do it. Now, the obvious one would be the defense playing the game of their lives, and you also need what I call the bad burrito, a little dysentery, Montezuma's revenge, call it whatever you want. But Joe Burrow, let's say he ends up needing a barf bag, and all of a sudden, couple of turnovers, short field, and then the Bengals start feeling it a little bit, and all of a sudden the Ravens are in position to shock the world. Now, do I think that's going to happen? No, I do not think that's going to happen. More times than not, what ends up happening is it's close for a quarter or a half, and then it's a snowball going down the mountain, right? Rolling down, picking up more snow down the mountain, where if the Bengals come out and say it's close for a quarter, and then they go up by 14 points, and all of a sudden the Ravens have to start throwing the ball more. They start getting out of what they're good at. They go out of bounds, what they're comfortable with, and then we know how that turns out. Right? It's just a run-up-the-score situation, and you say, oh, mercy nurse, is what you say. All right, last word here. So what are the odds that Lamar Jackson has now played his final game for the Baltimore Ravens? The assumption had always been that he was going to go year to year, and now the stakes have changed based on what is believed to be malingering from Lamar Jackson. So I'm going to update the odds on this, and the odds Lamar Jackson's played his final down for the Ravens, I'm going to set the line on this at minus 190. So I'm looking at a 65% chance that this is it, that Lamar's already played his last game back in early December, and that he pulls what I call the Johnny Cash. And he goes down the dusty Winnemucca Road, and that's it. Right? We're going to find out. And that's the great thing about it. It's like we have theories, and I've heard some things, and the streets are talking around Baltimore, and they're saying that Lamar is embellishing this. But we're going to find out whether or not that smoke is based in reality, whether he is embellishing the injury or there's an actual wildfire there. Maybe it's just like a fire pit. Maybe it's just a fire pit, but it could be the wildfire. The plan in Baltimore had been to say, hey, tag you're it, franchise tag Lamar for a couple of years after this. He'll be paid a top 5 quarterback salary, and then down the line you figure it out. But the best laid plans of mice men and NFL coaches, and it certainly appears by all indications that savvy treasure map that the Ravens were following, Lamar Jackson has come over and he has spilled ink on it and torn it up into little pieces. an act of sabotage, the saboteur, Lamar Jackson. Because of these hijinks, the Ravens are going to have to reevaluate things. It would be football malpractice if the Ravens believe that Lamar Jackson is not actually injured right now and just doesn't want to come back and play, that he's over the injury, that he's gone AWOL. You cannot franchise tag him because that's a year-to-year thing. And if Lamar's done it this year, he'll certainly do it the year after this and the following year. You lose your status. You're no longer in the bubble of trust. You're not in the bubble of trust. You're better off genuflecting and said, all right, you know what? We'll acquiesce. We'll give in to the hostage demands, and we'll send Lamar on his merry way, and that's it. And there's that transitional franchise tag that you can give where Lamar can go talk to other teams and all that. And if not, you can work out a trade. But also keep in mind that he did not play well this year. He was not performing at a high level even before this latest episode in the Days of Our Lives soap opera. He was hiding out in the back alley there. It's not a great setup. This was, hey, I'm going to put up great numbers and you're going to have to pay me. Now, someone's going to pay him, just not the Ravens. I would think at this point the Ravens are not going to pay him because of his skill set. The NFL teams are going to overlook the hideout situation, that he's in a bunker. And we know that beauty is in the eye of the beholder, as we learned when we were little kids. But all it takes is somebody desperate. And there's plenty of desperate teams out there that need quarterback help who will overlook all of the imperfections, all of the warts that Lamar brings to the table with his performance this year, with the disappearance, missing in action, and his play before that. But if Baltimore gives that transition tag down the line, you look around, you're like, would the Patriots make a move? Probably not, but would they? Right? Would they go that direction? That's a radical move for Bill Belichick. He doesn't normally go radical. That would be a sight to behold. What about the Bears, who have the number 1 overall pick, and a scattershot quarterback who gets a lot of highlights but was statistically terrible in Chicago? And you've got the Jets, who can't get their head out of their tuchus, and the Atlanta Falcons, among others. So it is certainly a story that is going to be on the front burner. It's on the back burner right now, but it's going to be on the front burner soon enough, especially if the Ravens get charbroiled and they end up over a bowl of chili on Wild Card Weekend. Then that story will bounce right back.